France, 1429. A land steeped in turmoil and uncertainty. A nation teetered on the brink of collapse, its people weary and disheartened. The 100 Years' War had ravaged the land for generations, leaving scars that ran deep. Now the English and their allies were close to victory, their banners flying high over conquered territories. The once proud French army had suffered defeat after defeat, their spirit nearly broken. The Dauphin Charles was uncrowned, a king in name only. He was a shadow of a king, clinging to a sliver of hope in the Loire Valley, surrounded by loyalists. Desperation hung heavy in the air, a palpable weight on the shoulders of every Frenchman. It was in this hour of need that a young peasant woman, Joan of Arc, rode into Chinon, her heart full of purpose. Joan was no ordinary girl. She was a beacon of hope in a time of darkness. She claimed to have received divine visions, messages from saints urging her to take action. These visions urged her to save France and crown the Dauphin as the rightful king, a mission she embraced with fervor. Imagine the scene, the skeptical courtiers, the weary soldiers, the desperate hope flickering in their eyes, all looking to this young woman for a miracle. Could this young woman truly be the answer to their prayers? Could she turn the tide of war? Could she be the savior France so desperately needed? Her resolve was unshakable. Joan, barely 17, stood before the young Dauphin, her presence commanding attention. Her eyes burned with conviction, a fire that could not be extinguished. She declared that she was sent by God to lead the French army to victory, her voice unwavering. She would lift the Siege of Orléans, she proclaimed, and drive the English from French soil. She would see Charles crowned king in Reims Cathedral, the traditional site of French coronations, restoring honor to the throne. Charles, cautious and unsure, agreed to meet with Joan privately, his curiosity piqued. He was a man accustomed to disappointment, to broken promises and shattered dreams, his heart heavy with doubt. What could this peasant girl, however devout, possibly offer him? What hope could she bring? Yet something in her unwavering gaze, in the sheer force of her belief, must have stirred something within him, a flicker of hope. The court at Chinon was a hotbed of intrigue and suspicion, a place where every whisper could be a plot, and every glance a potential betrayal. Whispers followed Joan through the halls of the castle, a mix of awe and skepticism trailing her every step. Was she a saint, sent by God to deliver France from its darkest hour, a beacon of hope in a time of despair? Or was she a cunning charlatan, a pawn in a dangerous game of thrones, manipulated by unseen hands? Charles, deeply pious but equally pragmatic, needed proof beyond mere words and visions. He could not risk his fragile claim to the throne on faith alone. The stakes were too high, the consequences too dire. He ordered an inquiry at Poitiers, a city renowned for its theologians and scholars, hoping to find clarity amidst the chaos. The church, initially skeptical of Joan's claims, subjected her to rigorous examinations, seeking the truth behind her assertions. Bishops and theologians grilled her about her visions, her beliefs and her intentions, leaving no stone unturned. They sought to determine the source of her inspiration. Was it truly divine, or was it something more earthly, more manufactured, perhaps even diabolical? Joan, undaunted by their scrutiny, answered their questions with remarkable clarity and conviction, her faith unwavering. She spoke of her visions, of the voices of saints who guided her, with a sincerity that impressed even her harshest critics, leaving them in awe. To further solidify her claim and silence her doubters, Joan subjected herself to a test of her purity, a deeply personal and invasive examination. Virginity held immense symbolic power in medieval society, particularly for a young woman claiming divine guidance, as it was seen as a mark of divine favor. A group of noblewomen, tasked with verifying her maidenhood, found no reason to doubt her claim, their findings lending credence to her story. This confirmation of Joan's chastity served as powerful evidence of her virtue and bolstered her image as a divinely chosen vessel, a pure and holy warrior. The examinations at Poitiers, while inconclusive in proving divine intervention, revealed Joan's piety, her unwavering faith, and her determination to save France, painting a picture of a young woman driven by a higher purpose. The combination of her charisma, her conviction, and her apparent purity proved persuasive, winning over many who had initially doubted her. Charles, swayed by the findings of the commission and desperate for a glimmer of hope in a war-torn land, decided to put his faith in the peasant girl from Domremy, a decision that would change the course of history. With the blessing of the church and the unwavering support of the Dauphin, Joan, now clad in shining armor, embarked on her first military campaign. This was not just any campaign, it was a mission that would test her resolve and the faith of those who believed in her divine guidance. Her destination was Orléans, a strategically vital city on the Loire River. This city was not just a geographical point on the map, it was a symbol of French resistance and hope. Orléans had been under siege by the English for months, a relentless assault that had drained the city's resources and morale. Its fall would have been a devastating blow to the French morale and would have paved the way for an English conquest of the rest of the Loire Valley. The stakes were incredibly high, and the French knew that losing Orléans could mean the end of their resistance. The arrival of Joan, the Maid of Orléans as she came to be known, galvanized the beleaguered French troops. Her presence was like a beacon of hope in their darkest hour. Her presence, her unwavering belief in their cause, and her fiery speeches breathed new life into the demoralized soldiers. She spoke with a conviction that was infectious, making the soldiers believe that victory was within their grasp. For them, Joan was more than a mere girl playing at war. She was a warrior saint, a living embodiment of their hopes and prayers. She was a symbol of divine intervention, a sign that God had not abandoned them. Joan, though lacking formal military training, possessed a keen strategic mind and an uncanny ability to inspire those around her. Her strategies were bold and unconventional, often catching the English off guard. She rallied the French troops, leading them in a series of daring assaults against the English fortifications. Her courage on the battlefield was undeniable, and it spurred her troops to fight with renewed vigor. She rallied the citizens of Orléans, urging them to resist the enemy with every ounce of their strength. Her words and actions inspired not just the soldiers, but the entire city to stand firm against the siege. Her courage, combined with a series of well-timed French attacks and a stroke of good fortune, turned the tide of the siege. The English, who had seemed invincible, were now on the defensive. On May 8, 1429, just 9 days after her arrival, the Siege of Orléans was lifted. This swift victory was a testament to Joan's leadership and the renewed spirit of the French forces. The English, demoralized by their unexpected defeat at the hands of a seemingly invincible young woman, retreated from the city. Their retreat marked a significant shift in the momentum of the war. The victory at Orléans was a turning point in the 100 Years' War. It was a moment that revived the French spirits. It shattered the aura of English invincibility and cemented Joan's status as a national heroine. Her triumph at Orléans was not just a military victory, it was a symbol of hope and resilience for all of France. From victory to coronation, Joan's meteoric rise. The victory at Orléans was not the end of Joan's mission, it was only the beginning. She knew that to truly secure the throne for Charles, he had to be crowned in Reims Cathedral, the traditional site of French coronations. Reims, however, lay deep in English-controlled territory. The journey would be fraught with danger. The English, eager to avenge their defeat at Orléans, would be waiting. Undeterred, Joan persuaded Charles to press their advantage. She led the French army on a remarkable campaign through the Loire Valley, liberating towns and cities previously held by the English. Her victories, coupled with her unwavering faith and charisma, drew more and more people to her cause. The French army, with Joan at its vanguard, marched on Reims. The city, fearing Joan's reputation and witnessing the crumbling English resistance, opened its gates without a fight. On July 17, 1429, less than 3 months after the liberation of Orléans, Charles VII was crowned King of France in Reims Cathedral. Joan, standing by his side throughout the ceremony, had fulfilled her divinely ordained mission. The coronation of Charles VII was a pivotal moment in French history. It marked the resurgence of French fortunes in the 100 Years' War, unified the French people under their rightful king, and cemented Joan of Arc's place as one of the most remarkable figures in medieval history. Whispers of doubt, the seeds of discontent. Despite her military triumphs and her pivotal role in Charles's coronation, Joan's position at court was precarious. The court, a viper's nest of intrigue and ambition, was not a welcoming place for a young, devout peasant girl, even one hailed as a war hero. The nobility, accustomed to wielding power and influence, viewed Joan with suspicion. Her close relationship with the king, her influence over his decisions, and her disregard for courtly customs bred resentment and jealousy. They whispered behind her back, questioning her motives, her sanity, and even her faith. Charles, now secure on his throne, seemed content to rest on his laurels. He ignored Joan's pleas for further military action, preferring diplomacy and negotiation to the dangers of the battlefield. He seemed to forget that it was Joan's military victories, not his diplomacy, that had won him the crown. Joan, increasingly isolated and frustrated by the king's inaction, grew restless. She yearned to return to the battlefield, to finish what she had started, to drive the English from French soil once and for all. But her pleas for support fell on deaf ears. The king, she realized with a heavy heart, had abandoned her.